Welcome, Nerd Nation. Welcome back to part 2 of episode 5 of the AFTA Effect podcast show. Last week, we talked about acceptance and we hit on the topic of what embracing your true self means to you. Today, in part 2, we're going to go ahead and break down how to let go of those unrealistic expectations that we can all hold on to. Once again, I've got my girls in the studio, and Yaz will be back real soon. But in the meantime and in between time, I want you to go ahead and get whatever makes you feel cozy in your cup. Let's snuggle up and let's start our day off with some self. See you in a bed.
But here we go. So that leads us into our second point is letting go of unrealistic expectations. Oh my goodness. So unrealistic expectations are a significant barrier to our self-acceptance. Okay. These expectations, often influenced by societal pressures or personal insecurities, they create an unattainable standard. And I think Beck hit on it when she was like, being perfect, and Toya to having to be perfect. That's an unattainable standard. But when we let go of these unrealistic expectations, we can allow ourselves to feel good enough to just be who we are. This is going to help reduce our stress, increase our self-compassion, and promote some mental well-being. In other words, we're going to be able to be a whole lot more peaceful when we can let go of the unrealistic shit that we hold on to. I'm going to go to Beck first on this one. When I'm talking about letting go of unrealistic expectations, like, what does that mean to you when I say that to you? Like, what does that trigger in you?
Absolution. That's what it triggers in me, is an opportunity to be free. I've looked for not only for perfection for myself, but success with my children. And I measure my success based on my children's success. And I had to realize that their version of success may not be my version,
girl.
And to be okay with what they deem successful or what they're happy with in their life. And it has been an extreme struggle for me. And again, with therapy, I'm working through that, but it also is making me do a lot of self-reflection on how I view me and my measures of success and failure for me. And a lot of that, again, came from my kids, but notwithstanding them anymore, now I'm forced to just look at me and figure out if I'm happy with where I am in life without the children. Because I put so much effort and time into wrapping my life around them that I did not put a whole lot into mine. So as I move forward with trying to be okay with them, it's leaving a whole lot of room over here for me to just deal with me. So I am on both sides right now, no matter where I look. I am finding work to be done and acceptance to be done. All those things. It's been quite a journey so far. I find myself being sad a lot that I've wasted so much time with these behaviors.
That tends to happen, especially the older we get. When we start to realize, the time that's wasted. So I'm gonna tell you, give yourself some grace, sis, because you didn't know what you didn't know, and there's absolutely a difference in giving yourself some grace and giving yourself a pass.
Yes,
I really do think that you need to give yourself some grace, because we did, and for everybody that's listening, As parents, a lot of us were kids when we became parents. Just because your age says you're grown doesn't mean shit. Okay. So a lot of us were still kids when we had kids, and every reason to have kids is selfish and toxic. Let's just talk about it. My reason to have kids was because I wanted to prove that my mother and father got it wrong, that I could do better. Okay. So there's no reason that you can present to want to have children, to want to create another life and believe that you're going to be able to dictate what happens with that life. That isn't, selfish and toxic. It's all about how that thing plays out, and so letting go of unrealistic expectations, we really do have to give ourselves some grace. There's a saying that I really hate when people, when us as women, as Black women, as mothers, as single mothers, as any mother, when we start to talk about, how difficult it may have been, to raise our children because, all of our life is about this person. When people say things like, well, that's what you signed up for, that shit really grinds my fucking gears. It just really does, because let's just talk about it. You sign up for the end result. You sign up for the brochure picture. You sign up for that picture, the fake family that you see in the Walmart frame when you go and you buy frames and shit, and you see this lovely family that just looks so happy, that we buy into that. That's what we sign up for. We sign up for the fairy tale that we were told, that if we just do XYZ, that we're going to get ABC. You don't sign up for, elemental P, QRS, and all that other bullshit that comes in between, of getting what you thought you wanted and the reality of what you really have. So when it's hard to be a mom, or it's just hard to be us, and somebody says, well, that's what you signed up for, I just really want to punch them in the face, because nope. Nobody knows until that somebody's going to betray you. Nobody knows until that somebody is going to, lie to you. You don't know until that you're going to betray somebody else.
And
that you'll lie.
And when people say that, there's always an affected party, because some people don't respond to that's what you signed up for. That's how some of us are in the situations that we're in right now, because our parents didn't respond well to somebody telling them this is what you signed up for. And they are some of us, our parents made damn sure that whoever said that to them let them know that I did not sign up for this.
I did not.
This is how I'm going to handle not signing up, for this. So
it's a dismissive statement too.
It is.
It's a dismissive statement. It's a, shut up and get over it type of statement, as though anybody can prepare for. And there are some situations that you cannot prepare for. You have absolutely no way to prepare for it. And the situations will show you exactly who you are. The situations will introduce you to yourself. I said it in episode 1. So I'm going to go over to Toya. Unrealistic expectations. How did you learn to let go? Have you learned to let go of them, of unrealistic expectations that you may have placed onto yourself?
I'm learning to let them go. And I am a work in progress in that regard. Like I said, I had this thing about being a perfectionist. So I wanted to be the perfect mom, the perfect wife, the perfect girlfriend, the perfect employee, and just having to be perfect. And having to be perfect is fucking exhausting. I just have to throw that out there. It's fucking exhausting.
And didn't nobody even tell you that you had to do it? Ain't that that's the kicker?
Told me I had to do it, but I felt from an early age like I had to be perfect, because I wanted people to see me as just a person. Like I said, just I'm a good person just because I'm a good person, not because, I'm good for a dark girl. I do this, or. So I have been working really hard about being okay with certain things. Like, you know, I've I'm learning to be okay with things. Like, I'll give you an example. My oldest, you know, went to college and she recently unenrolled. And
What now?
yeah, she unenrolled.
Oh.
So yeah, so the perfectionist mom in me is like, well, I survived 4 fucking years of college. Why couldn't you? Like, the fuck? Nobody's perfect, but god damn it, you work hard for what you want. But I had to come to the conclusion that everybody has to do things in their own way, in their own time. And me placing that unrealistic expectation that because I finished college, because I struggled through, she should just suck it up and deal with it. That's not fair, because everybody's not the same. We weren't raised the same. I was raised in an environment where I knew college was the only way. Because there
So
was
now let's bring this back to you. Can you name an unrealistic expectation that you put on yourself that you figured out was just unrealistic? It was too much.
wanting to be perfect and wanting everybody to see me as this perfect person. And I'm far from perfect. I have flaws. Um, I think one of my unrealistic expectations is wanting people to see me as this super nice person.
You think it's realistic to want people to see you as a nice person?
Because I'm not a nice person. I'm an asshole. I just know how to hide my assholeness very well.
My girl.
In this group, I'm the peacemaker. But in the outside world and with my family, I'm the asshole. And they'll be
you are the one that's always singing kumbaya up in here, girl.
Because I'm trying hard not to be a jerk. But my family will be the first to tell you, I don't give a fuck about other people's feelings. And I tend to say what the first thing that comes to my mind. And I when people ask me for advice, I always give them a disclaimer, much like you do. Are you sure you want my advice? Because you might not like what's going to come out of my mouth. So before my siblings call and ask for anything, they call on God and they ask, like, do I really want to ask her opinion, or should I really call her? Because I'm gonna tell you what it is, and I get this from my grandmother. My grandmother was brutally honest, and she taught me not to sugarcoat shit. So I've spent a lot of time in my life wanting people to see me as this very nice person who's very sweet and kind, and I'm really not. Like, if you ask me my honest opinion, I'm gonna give you an honest answer, and you might cry, but I want
you might cry.
you might cry, but from where I come from, I feel like if I was to sugarcoat things and tell you what you want to hear, I'm doing you a disservice. Could you really call me a friend if I told you what you wanted to hear and then you screwed yourself over? When I could say, yo, there's a clip over there, you might not want to run that direction. So, unrealistic that's one unrealistic expectation. Another unrealistic expectation. You pulled the card about safety. I have this unrealistic expectation that the person I'm dating should be my safe space. And I have
should be what now?
My safe space.
You think that's an unrealistic expectation?
I think they should be a safe space, but not the safe space. The safe space should start with me. And they should just be a bonus safe space.
I can agree with that.
But that's not how it's been for most of my life. I don't look internally for my safe space because, like I said, most days I don't fucking like myself. So
So
I've
would
had
you say that the unrealistic expectation is
image.
yeah,
Yes,
your
image.
image?
My image. I set unrealistic expectations on my image.
Hmm. Okay. Well, Tiff, what about you? When we talk about unrealistic expectations, did you
I think
have them? Do you remember a time when you had them and you had to let them go, or just where are you at with that?
I think it's a lot harder to identify that you have unrealistic expectations. You know, um, people feel how they feel and they feel that their feelings are valid, regardless of whatever's happening. I have learned that's truly unrealistic. Toya says she's a butthole in real life, right? So let's just say that I have okay, I'm just going to expect her to be a butthole. She needs to understand that this is how I feel. I don't care what she says. This is how I feel. To me, that's unrealistic. That's an unrealistic expectation of people. For example, with my children growing up, I remember me and one of my sons, this is an example, got into what I'm gonna call an argument because you really couldn't argue with me, as a child. But I always wanted my children to be able to speak their minds respectfully. So he said to me, I didn't ask to be here.
Oh,
And my response was, do you think I asked for you? Do you think that I asked for a child that's going to sit up here and talk back to me? Do you think that I asked for somebody
oh,
that won't clean their room? I mean, I went down the list.
I'm so happy you brought that around. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah,
but no,
I
I
went.
get that. I get
Yeah, I
that.
went down the list. I said, do you not think that I would have wished for the honor roll student, which my son was an honor roll student, that does everything he's supposed to do, that's obedient, that knows how to shut up, sit down, and whatever else I said. I shouldn't have to tell you to take out the garbage. I mean, that's the kid. Let's be honest. Everybody would have wanted that perfect kid that did that. And so I'm very grateful to the Lord that he never repeated that statement. So I think he got it. But at the same time, I felt bad about that because I shouldn't have to do that. But, to me, it was unrealistic of me. I tried very hard to get my kids to walk this line. You
Oh,
know, I didn't even place the line there. It took me a long time to figure that. Well, I had to go to therapy too, like her, but it took me a long time to figure out that ain't even my measuring stick that I'm measuring what these boys are doing. I let other people set the
mm,
parameters for that, which
okay.
became unrealistic. They can't, I can't. I can't do that. But it took me a while to learn that you got to identify what's unrealistic. I can't tell my husband today, I hate you, get out. And then tomorrow I've decided that I no longer hate you, you can come back. That's not a realistic expectation.
Right.
Um,
It's
that requires
unrealistic to
work.
expect that he is going to be okay with that.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm losing weight. I've lost, y'all know, I told you I've lost
Yes,
62
ma'am.
pounds. It would be unrealistic of me to think that I'm going to get into a size 2. That's not a realistic expectation. If I can get to a 12, that's the point. That's to me, that's a real expectation that's obtainable.
Hmm.
Um, Having an unrealistic expectation that's unattainable is insane. It's insane.
And it
I
keeps
remember,
us, it keeps our self-esteem low.
I remember
If we put
exactly.
expectations on ourselves that are impossible for us to reach, like you said with your weight loss, if you'd have said, well, I'm gonna lose weight and by at the end of my journey, I'm gonna be in a size 2, you wouldn't even stuck to that because that's just your structure. That's not how that's gonna go. And
Right.
so it keeps us, if we keep chasing the unrealistic, that is what keeps us from being able to really truly accept ourselves.
I'm gonna also say it took me some time to realize, and maybe it didn't take everybody the same time, but the unrealistic expectations that your family lay on you, okay? They lay some stuff on you that they can't even reach and expect you to respond accordingly. See, this is where knowing who you are comes into play, accepting for who you are and being accountable for who you are, okay? Because people will send you, like you said, Toya, off the cliff and watch you fall and then say, well, I don't know what made her go over there. But,
She
she
ain't have
should
to
have
do
known
it.
better.
Yep.
Yeah, it should have known better thing. But just being able to identify what's unrealistic. I can't ask you to give me what I'm not willing to give you, even as a friend. If I don't reach out and say, hey, y'all, what's going on, whatever, after a while, out of sight, out of mind. So I can't expect you to pick the phone up all the time and call me. Have I been going through things? Have I been great about picking the phone up here lately? I have not been. And so I can't hold you accountable. Hey, you didn't reach out to me. I didn't reach out to you either. You know what I'm saying? That's unrealistic to expect something more from someone than you're willing to give to that someone. So for me, that came in a lot of ways. When people, and now y'all know I think my husband's the best thing in the world,
Big
okay?
John,
But yeah,
who I have
but
renamed, who that is
I
not his
can't give
name.
Big John, that's okay. I can't give Big John expectations to get up every day. I want him to rub my back, rub my feet, and feed me breakfast in bed. Right. And then when he's looking for the same thing, oh yeah, that's not me. You ain't getting none of it. I can't expect him to keep giving it to me. Because anybody with half an ounce of brain gonna say, yeah, no, reciprocity doesn't live here. So having unrealistic expectations comes in a lot of ways, sometimes by way of age. If I can say I'm X amount of years old, I shouldn't be going through this. Says who? Just because you're this age does not mean that you shouldn't be going through this. What you're supposed to do is just learn from it at whatever age. I
Baby.
remember somebody saying to me, and I might have been maybe about 25, 26 at the time. Well, you're 20 something years old. You should know better. How? Never been to this situation before. And because people
Exactly.
put that,
That's another one of them. That's what you signed up for. You should
yeah,
know better.
exactly.
All of this kind of stuff, all of this kind of limiting
Yeah,
stuff.
no.
Hey, look, I told you about Tornado Tuesday, honey. I'm 52 years old. I needed to be able, it was unrealistic for me to believe that I was going to be able to go back to another Tornado Tuesday. I shouldn't have went to the first one.
Right.
And Nerd Nation, for those of you who do not understand what Tornado Tuesday is, don't worry about it because I didn't understand until I got there. Y'all know that I had a goal of joining a spin class because of the line of work that I do. I'm always advocating to my clients self-care, getting themselves together, and just doing things that better their peace of mind. And so I want to be healthier. And it was inspired by the fashion show, the little, Temu fashion show that I put on. I did not like how I looked in some of the clothing. Now, it fit right. It fit how it was supposed to fit, but there's some things that I wanted to work on. And so I can't be a hypocrite and tell my clients to, stay steadfast to their goals and go through it and not do it myself. So I'm going to join a spin class. I look up spin classes, something pops up, free first introductory class, schedule it. I scheduled it. I go in, I'm all chipper for the spin class. Ain't no cycles nowhere, okay? But I do see all this apparatus. 3 apparatus, as a matter of fact. The first one was the rowing machine. The second was free weights. And the third was a treadmill because we all know how much I love to fucking run with my weak ass ankles. Okay.
You're stupid.
But I'm like, no, maybe this is just the Heavenly Father, Mother Nature saying that, bitch, you don't need to do no spin class because you don't know what that is. So this is where you need to be. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this. Okay. And this little darling that was so happy to be skinny, okay, come flitting up to me talking about it was my lucky day because I had come on Tornado Tuesday.
Uh-oh.
And what was supposed to be a 60-minute workout is now a 90-minute workout because I'm so special. Okay. And so lucky. And so The first machine we're going to use, SJ, is the rowing machine. And oh, by the way, it uses 95% of your body.
Just going to interject right quick. I'm just going to say, you should have known better. Okay.
It's what I
finished. Finished. Because at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
As soon as she said, "It's your lucky day," I'd have been out the door. No, thank you.
This is where avoidance.
Instead of a bunch of spin cycles that should have told you something wrong.
This is where avoidance gets you, and you just
don't want to be a quitter. Okay, and there's a certain story that I want to tell.
This is when you accept those unrealistic expectations, because I know I'm not doing none of this.
I was not. So this goes into Tiff. But wait a minute, this goes into what Tiff said about you got to know that is unreal. Sometimes you got to fuck around and find out. I get on this rowing machine, and it takes me no time to understand what I have just gotten myself into, because yes, it did work 95% of my body, and 95% of my body felt completely ridiculous at the end of this workout. And I did this whole workout because I'm not no punk and I'm not a quitter. And when it was over, I'm laying on the floor.
Because she ain't no punk.
And they're asking me how I felt, how I feel. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel right now.
I can't feel anything.
I don't know if I can feel anything right now. Like what I've just done to my body. I don't know. And so they said, well, are you going to come back?
Heck, no.
I don't know.
On a Tuesday? No.
If I'm going to come back. Yeah, not on a Tuesday.
Not on a Tuesday.
Not on a Tuesday. But I say that to say, had I agreed, because they absolutely offered me another free complimentary, honey, keep it. Okay. Everything, listen here, Nerd Nation, everything somebody offering you for free. Okay. Sometimes you could say no. Cause
you can almost especially if it's
not free. I paid for that. I paid for that. Like, my whole body. But at the same time, so in that way, it would have been unrealistic for me to continue to pay for it, because they want your membership. You got it every month, and they get you psyched up. They kind of guilt trip you, about, well, don't give up on yourself. But no, sweetie, I'm not giving up on myself. I'm gonna go ahead and give up on you though. But I'm not going to give up on myself, because subsequently I did get myself into something else that's right for me, that is more realistic for me. So let's talk about how I did that. 3 actionable steps for anybody that is having trouble with getting rid or letting go of unrealistic expectations. The first thing you're going to do, and Tiff hit on it, you're going to identify the external influences. I want you to write down what your expectations are and where they originated from. Did you get that unrealistic expectation from society, from family, from social media? Where did that shit come from? Number 2, you're going to challenge perfectionism. Come on now. We're talking all around this episode. You need to remind yourself that perfection is unattainable. And instead, let's aim for progress. Because if you ain't good at something, you could work at it till you get good. You might not get it perfect, but you can always progress it. Because we will run ourselves crazy looking for perfection. It doesn't exist. Not to put too fine a point on it, it was only one perfect person that's ever been professed to walk this earth, and even he's dead. Shit.
I think sometimes
sorry, JC, you my brother and everything, but like, he dead.
I think we forget to celebrate the hurdles. When you clear a hurdle, you're so busy looking at the next one that you never have time to stop.
You never just celebrate it. And how about that brings us to number 3?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Celebrate small wins. Recognize and celebrate the small achievements that reinforce your self-worth. It's not enough because here's the thing. I'm going to add to that and say, along with celebrating those small wins, I want you to celebrate those losses too, because the losses is where you learn. See, you ain't learning nothing when you win. When you win, that's a culmination. Oh shit, I did it. You feel accomplished when you win. But when you lose, there's something to learn in that. We need to be able to lose as graciously as we win, and win as gracious and win as humbly as we lose. That for me is all a part of acceptance and getting rid of those unrealistic expectations. If we learn how to lose a little bit, because for me, that's where those unrealistic expectations come from. Most of mine come from not making a mistake. I can't make a mistake. Well, bitch, what's going to happen if you make a mistake? Life is going to go on, but that's not how our brain tells us that, our kids is going to hate us. The dog is going to hate us. The roaches is going to move out. No one's going to want to be around us if we make a mistake. And the fact is that everybody is making mistakes constantly. And life is still going on.
I don't need to celebrate them. I need to get to some wins. I'm not going to lie.
So maybe I'll amend. The reason that I say celebrate is because when you're losing, at least you was in the race, bitch. Like, at least you got in the race, because the mofo that really can't complain is the mofo that's just sitting on the sideline doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I was going to say, I think that people think that when you say celebrate the small things, that the small things still have to be big things.
Right.
If you got through the day, if you're a person that cusses, for example, if you got through an hour of not saying the cuss word,
celebrate that.
That's celebration.
Celebrate that.
You celebrate
I
that.
work with people who are in recovery from addiction. And so, their motto is that they're taking it one day at a time. But quite honestly, if we're going to be realistic about it, they're taking it 1 minute at a time. It's not too many minutes, depending on the level that they are, depending on where they are in the journey. If they're at the very beginning of the recovery journey, it's not 1 minute of one day that they're not thinking, about doing something really destructive. Yeah. And so every minute that they conquer is worth a celebration. And so for that, I think that we just have to listen. Do you know how much we celebrate baby steps? Babies look stupid as hell when they walk in. I'm sorry, when they first learn.
Yeah.
But ain't we cheering them on? They take one stupid ass step and we like, oh my God, this is what I'm asking you to do for you. You have to understand that your progress is going to be baby steps in the beginning. And you got to cheer for how stupid and wobbly your ass look, just like you do when you cheering for how stupid and wobbly, our kids look when they was trying to get it. We were cheering because of their progress. And so back here we go with what I mean by even celebrating the losses. When your kid was learning how to walk and they took those first couple of steps and they fell down, you didn't boo them. You still applauded the effort. You know what I'm saying? And they learned, how to be a little bit more steady the next time. So that's what I mean when I say, we have to learn how to celebrate those losses too. We just have to learn how to look at them, as opportunities to get better, because that's where we learn listen, all of our lessons is in our pain. That's why they call growing pains. It's nobody learning. Michael Phelps didn't learn no lessons while he was winning. It ain't until he lost that he had to go back and reflect. Oh, what did I do? What happened?
I know. I just feel like I have celebrated enough loss. I'm ready to start celebrating something else now.
So let me ask you this. Have you celebrated? Right? Have you celebrated or have you wallowed?
Well, nah. I don't think, I guess depending on who you ask. Me personally, I don't think I wallow because, again, I was striving for so much unrealistic perfection that I was always on the move. I was always trying to make it right. And again, I didn't have a chance to celebrate, even when I got it partially right, because I was so busy working, trying to make sure that everything that the kids had what they needed, that this looked right, that looked right, that I didn't have time to celebrate or to wallow because I stayed busy. It's
because
not,
you just stayed on the go.
I just stayed torturing my
So
damn
you
self,
right. I was about to say you just
trying to get it right, not realizing that I raised 3 people to adulthood. Nobody's dead. And what an achievement. And I am
nobody's
so
dead.
busy. I am so busy trying to make their life just right that I have totally missed out on celebrating all those wonderful milestones for me. Not that I didn't celebrate it with them,
Right.
so that they knew that they achieved something, but I didn't celebrate the fact that I played part in that.
Yeah.
Because I was too busy focusing on the little things that I messed up along the way and trying to make it better the next time. So when I say I'm done, I'm tired of celebrating the hits.
I get you, sis.
I want to
Interesting?
go back, even if I have to go all the way back to when Eric was born. I want to celebrate the fact that I brought a life into the world with no meds. I missed out on all of that because from that moment forward, I was trying to be somebody else. I was trying to be everything that I wanted my mom to be, and which was unrealistic as well. And so I really want to celebrate. I'm tired of thinking about all the things that didn't work out well or didn't work out the way that I thought they were, because just because I didn't think they didn't work out well doesn't mean that they really didn't.
Right.
Because actually they did. They worked out really well.
Because your perception may be a bit skewed because it needed to be wrapped up in
it
a
needed
certain
to be
bowl
a
for
10
you.
when things came out at an 8.5 or a 9, which is great.
Right.
That's passing.
Right.
That is,
and you know great. What? That gets us, ironically, right into the third point of fostering inner peace and contentment. Tiff, before we do it, what were you going to say?
I wanted to ask a question. Have any of you ever sat down and thought about where the expectations that we had came from, and if we ever asked anyone what they expected?
That's point number one, is to identify, where it came from. And so, yeah, that was one of the first things I did. I had to really sit in some of the unrealistic expectations that I placed on myself to be the perfect mom, to always, one that I put on myself was I needed to always have an answer. How the fuck was I supposed to always have an answer? And I was 19 having my kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's unrealistic. But I always wanted to have an answer because I was afraid to say, I don't know. Because I was afraid that I wouldn't be accepted, wouldn't be loved, whatever. So I know now exactly where that came from. And so the question of, did I go back? I have spent time going back to several people, playing a game that I like to call QA and OK. And for our listening audience, you guys can write that down. The game is called QA and OK. And this game works in any aspect of the AFTA effect that you're talking about. But the gist of QA and OK is asking your question and accepting someone else's truth. Now, if you're asking the question of yourself, I want you to dig deep and accept your own truth about it. Tiff just asked, have you ever thought about where it came from? And did you go back to that person? When I went back to that person, I absolutely asked, and I had to be okay with what they said to me because I had to be in a place of acceptance. And to me, that's what being in a place of acceptance is about. I'm going to ask you the question. I'm going to ask you what I want to know. You are going to give me your truth. And I am just going to say, okay, I'm not going to try to convince you that your truth ain't your truth. It shouldn't be your truth. It's uncomfortable for me. QA and OK. So that's a little exercise that we can do, when it comes to letting go of them unrealistic expectations and figuring out where they came from. What about you guys? I know she didn't just ask me. Has anybody else really spent some time figuring where the unrealistic expectation came from?
I have. I had a conversation with someone, and when I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer. That's just the career that I chose for myself. And it was something that I was very passionate about, something that I was damn good at. But the unrealistic expectation came in when I was told writers don't make no money and you're smarter than that. Use your brain and go be a lawyer or a doctor or something like that, because you got the brains to do that stuff. Why settle for being a lawyer, for being a writer? So I was basically told that because I'm smarter, because I'm smart, I should do something that was deemed more
acceptable.
Yeah, more acceptable, something that, we could really brag about. Who doesn't want to brag? Oh, my
Something
kid's
better.
a lawyer, my kid's a judge, my kid's a doctor, It was all about the image. And it wasn't about what made me happy or what I wanted. And ultimately, I grew up and I ended up with a career where I don't make no money. I enjoy what I do because I pass knowledge on from generation to generation, but I don't make no money at it.
Would you rather be writing right now?
I really would.
Well, and we're going to talk about what stops you in another episode. But again, that's something else that leads us right into point number 3, fostering inner peace and contentment. So inner peace and contentment are the rewards of self-acceptance. How about that? Oh, shit. Let me read that again. Inner peace and contentment are the rewards of true self-acceptance. I truly love myself, flaws and all. The things that I'm changing about me are because I want to change them, not because society has said that I should, not because anybody else. And that really is what the point of all of this is. The point of you loving yourself for exactly who you are. It doesn't mean that you just become okay with being fucked up, okay? Like, it means that you understand that no matter if you're fucked up or not, you are still worthy of love. That's what it means. And it also means that because you love yourself, that you're able to look at yourself honestly and see the things that you want to work on, the things that you believe need to change, not so that you can fit into anybody else's box, but just so that when you look in it, so that you can spend more than 30 seconds with yourself in the mirror without getting fidgety. I have full-fledged meetings with myself in the mirror. A lot of times I would prefer to be there because I understand me like don't nobody else understand me. That wasn't always the case. In the beginning, when I say that you need to look at if you can't spend 30 seconds with yourself, I had to do that. I'm not telling you to do nothing that I didn't do. I had to do that. There is a statement that was said to me in the military, and it took a while for me to understand what the statement meant. But now that I understand what it means, I have added on to it. So have you ever been told, any of you, because I know that I have you ever been told that you are too smart for your own good?
No.
No?
Yeah.
I was told that quite recently.
I have been told that. And so here's what I'm going to say. Now, this may be a little bit of a slap in the face, Nerd Nation, for whoever is listening, but believe me, I slapped my own face with it, okay? Being too smart for your own good oftentimes means that you're too stupid to adjust for your own benefit. Because a lot of times when we're smart, when we're overly smart, all of us on this panel, but a few people we're a lot smarter than the average bear. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's a blessing and a curse. Because sometimes when, those lessons that we were learning at a young age, all of those things that we were learning, it can make us very, very rigid in what we know. And when it was said to me I had a flippant response to it just because I didn't understand what they were trying to say. And ironically, they were the person that said it was too stupid to be able to explain it either. But I digress. Okay. But that is what it means. Too smart for your own good often translates into you being too stupid to adjust for your own benefit. And that means that because we are not perfect, because we do not always get it right, there's always room for us to grow. There's always room for us to learn. The stupidest person on the earth thinks that they don't have anything else to learn. It's really just that simple, because the world is ever changing. There's no, listen, y'all know some people that was, smart as hell back in the day, and they still have those same ideals, thinking that they still smart as hell today in 2024, and none of those ideals work. But they refuse to change. Too smart for your own good, too stupid to adjust for your own benefit. So when we're talking about,
I can add one more to that. My mother used to always tell me, she say, "You too stupid to be scared of anything, and fear will keep you alive." She used to tell me that all the time. I didn't really fully understand that until I did something in my teenage years that, in reflection, probably could have gotten my life taken. And so that too smart and too stupid, it definitely works both ways. And again, that's one of those being able to identify things in your life that are out of order. That's all.
And we got to be, and I'm just going to introduce another word to us. We got to be able to live in some simultaneity. And being able to live in simultaneity means that you accept that a million opposing things can be true all at the same time and exist all in the same space. Because just like LaToya can be a bitch and an asshole to some people, she's the peacemaker here. She's both of those things. You can't, I often say you can be a farmer, but you can't just be a farmer, Rick. And it's a reference that I know that y'all don't watch it, and it's gonna appall me if you don't. So just Nerd Nation right here, I'm just gonna be talking to you, okay? Because these three get on my nerves with what they don't watch. So those of you who got that Walking Dead reference.
Oh yeah,
you can be a farmer, but you can't just be a farmer, Rick. Okay, you have to understand that there's a million different things about you, a million sides of you that it's okay for you to display. And a lot of times our lack of self-acceptance could be because, we think that we have to be in conflict with those opposing things. We all know here, I got 6 personalities. They are not in conflict at all. When they were in conflict is when I was not in peace, is when I felt like a soup sandwich all the fucking time. When I was trying to be one thing and just that, when I was trying to fit in some box, whether I was putting myself in that box or whether I had allowed other people to put me in that box, I had to learn that I'm a million different things. LaToya, you're a writer, you're an educator, you're a mom. You're a million different things. You don't have to be stuck in just that thing that you're doing. You can write on the side. You don't got to just be a farmer, Rick. So we're going to go into fostering inner peace.
Nerd Nation, thank you so much for tuning in for part 2 of our acceptance talk, letting go of unrealistic expectations. Now, if you tune in to the AFTA Effect podcast show next week, we are going to have the third and final installation of our acceptance talk. We're going to learn how to foster inner peace, where you're going to get 3 actionable steps that is going to let you know exactly how to do that. If you liked today's episode, I want you to go ahead and subscribe, like, share, and comment, and let us know that you were in the building. Until next week, Nerd Nation, remember that you are enough.